scale is unlike anything I've ever seen before.
But that set's a beautiful set.
Come on.
We set fire to a lot of people.
Everybody loves to fire a scorpion, because why? You can kill dragons!
Emma never complained. I was freezing. Spoiler alert. I'll ride a dragon.
Episode 207 begins on a beach, a desolate beach, and Rhaenyra meets Adam of Hull, who somehow has claimed the dragon's sea smoke that belonged to Rhaenyra's husband, Laenor. How did this happen? Who is Adam of Hull? The opening of 207, we had always set on the beach. We really wanted that kind of vast landscape that you have at Driftmark.
I swore after season 1 that we were never going back to a coastline again. And we found ourselves there for that scene, thankfully for just a brief day.
Beautiful beach when the sun's out, and we were filming right on the tide line. The problem there, of course, is the continuity of the tide. It doesn't sit and wait for you, so you're chasing down the beach and back up the beach.
So when you're scheduling a scene like that, you have to work out exactly what direction works for what time. So you schedule based on how the tide comes in and tide goes out. Then what we didn't anticipate is that we were going to be in the worst of Welsh weather. The rain was falling, the wind was howling, the sand was blowing, the waves were crashing, and the tide was coming in quicker and harder than we could have ever thought.
You stand before the Queen of the Seven Kingdoms with a dragon of House Targaryen.
I'd actually hoped for a storm because you can just sort of see it, can't you? This sort of face-off. I honestly loved it, and it was the first time me and Clinton got to shoot together.
Emma never complained. I was freezing. I filmed with Sea Smoke the day before I filmed with Emma. So it was really sunny, beautiful. I was running all day with Sea Smoke, and it was beautiful. And then the tide and the storm came in for the scene with Emma, which really influenced the scene.
You kneel quickly for a man so suddenly elevated.
This dragon came to me.
It's a beautiful dragon moment to open that episode, you know, in terms of wonderful, you know, opportunities for our dragons to kind of step forward and kind of be part of that drama.
It's pretty big and it's pretty vast. You know, Loni had put a lot of kind of passion and prep into just establishing an epic scale and look. And then we had our dragon performers. We had our guys in blue suits with a dragon head.
For all of the weather issues that we had, it really did look epic. And I think when you've got two big dragons in there as well, I think it's going to be a fantastic opening to the episode.
Do you think you can get him to Dragonstone?
I can try.
One of the things I loved in 207 is that we had a lot of different vignettes that took place in a lot of cool places. And one of those cool places is the Godswood, which is at the foot of Harrenhal. That particular Godswood is unique because just across the God's Eye, there's the Isle of Faces. Like, so if you know mythology, you know that this island is important.
This is the Godswood that's fallen into disuse. You know, we know that Harrenhal was built on a felled orchard of weirwood trees, and then the weirwoods were chopped up and used as lumber to build the castle, which possibly led to some of the experiences that people have there.
The Harrenhal Godswood went through various processes of what it should be, what scale it should be, and so ultimately it came back to the backlot and it became part of a ruined garden with the weirwood tree standing on a rockscape at the end of the garden.
This is a much darker, sort of more mysterious, kind of almost nightmarish sort of version of the Godswood to evoke the Harrenhal sort of vibe of this. This is a ruined castle.
Charlie Marco. Unlike the Red Keep Godswood, which was generally well tended and kept, this one has fallen into total, disarray. I mean, the first time Damon walks in there's a bunch of broken carts all scattered around. I mean, it seems like a back garden storage for the people of Harrenhal.
It was a great dramatic concept. Lake behind, rocks with the walls coming up to it, and then these enormous great roots from this giant tree just breaking it all to pieces.
That was weeks and weeks and weeks working with Conrad, from a maquette to the real thing as it was poly-sculpted. There's a metal armature in there.
A lot of metalwork inside it to keep those branches from falling. And we had quite a lot of real branches in amongst there.
And then it's all taken apart and it was transported down here and then put back together again. There's also all the leaves. They have to be painted first into that colour, then attached to those branches. So a lot of work.
But that set's a beautiful set. Our big visual effects challenge is the Godswood tree. So they've built the base of the tree and then we're extending it. And again, what's lovely about the show, everything's so character-based that even the tree is a character.
And yes, I think there is a face that people may or may not recognize, but I'm going to require you to go to the videotape and figure it out for yourself.
There's a new face in there. I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about who the face is. Yeah, we've got quite a famous face in there that might be recognisable.
The face on the weirwood tree is
George R. Martin. Yes, George.
Is it? I didn't know that. Oh, that's good. I like that.
Which Ryan wanted to do as a bit of a tribute. And the idea was that it gradually started to disappear back into the bark of the tree.
The brief was to make it feel enough like him, but you're never really sure. The idea is that you don't look at it straight away and say, that's George R. Martin. You do a second take and say, oh, is that?
This is really cool, guys. Thank you.
The dragon seeds come into the Dragon Mont, which is this huge cavern with, I guess, what could be described as a mounting block, 10 meters high.
The scale is unlike anything I've ever seen before. You go into these huge sound stages and they've built a gantry, a perfect huge gantry. And at the end of that, there's a dragon. There's not actually a dragon there. They do that post-production.
In 207, we're working with dragons. So a lot of the preparation that we did was looking into how do we burn people and how do we eat people? And that was a collaboration that began in visual effects.
It was the why did I ever take this job moment. What was I thinking? Massive cavern, dragon the size of a jumbo jet, so no hiding here. And then 45 dragon seeds on a platform that was off the ground by at least a story and a half.
Well, we wanted it to start in a similar way to 206. So you know that you're coming to a place you've been to before. Then when all hell breaks loose and the dragon starts burning everybody and eating everybody, then we wanted to feel completely different and switch to something very dynamic. Most of that scene was shot handheld.
It's a massive scene and it was just hugely enjoyable to plan that with Loni.
We had a very detailed storyboard and very detailed previews to know where the dragon is and what the dragon is doing.
You can pre-visualize with your lenses, your camera, your blocking, and then when you arrive on set, everyone knows what they're doing.
We had a big blue proxy nose made for Rhaenyra to interact with.
Not only we just built this head, we also had puppeteer animating it, looking exactly what's motion dragon, what the motion's gonna be, so the actor can actually interact with it.
They're a character themselves, and Loni got them performing, bending down, subjugating.
It was extraordinary to see Emma Darcy put their hand on the blue screen buck, knowing that when you see it in all of fandom, you will be like, that is one of the scariest, coolest moments I've ever seen, because you know what Emma Darcy felt? You know what Rhaenyra felt? They felt power.
What this is going to be is when Rhaenyra turns around and looks at the seeds, it will evoke that exact poster frame of Rhaenyra in front of the dragon.
Who among you would be first?
Someone's going to die today. Someone's going to get set on fire. And I'm so excited.
Might be you.
It's not me. Spoiler alert. I'll ride a dragon.
Historically in Game of Thrones, what makes the dragons real is that our fire is real. We continue that legacy. So when you see this episode, it is not CGI fire that you are seeing. It is real fire with our real actors in front of the real fire, and that was done through very meticulous planning with the stunt team, with the special effects team, hair and makeup and wardrobe to figure out how are we going to burn this many people.
Basically, all of the smartest people in the room are deciding how to shoot people on fire.
And we're just mucking about.
3, 2, 1, action!
It's a big fire event, and there's a lot happening. There's the full burn mask, which is a pretty spooky looking thing when you see it. That's not really camera ready. So those ones, we definitely have to do a face replacement. The kind of half burn mask, they're actually, they look fantastic. So we're having to do very little to those.
When we're doing the partial burns and people aren't being engulfed, we'll just apply sort of silicone ball caps with pre-painted on and pre-sculpted burns that cover their ears, and then we've got a piece that covers their neck, and we have some pieces that cover their faces. So we're keeping all this clear, which should not be in the fire anyway. So you get to see the fire just licking up around their ears, around the backs of their heads, and it looks like how they tolerate it, but it does the job, at least for the 15 seconds they're on fire, and then obviously the guys with the fire extinguishers come in.
In 207, we burned 45 seeds in various different ways. The biggest of the burns, we had a 16-man burn that happened all at once. And in that burn, we see Vermithor essentially unleash his biggest blast.
But that particular set is 5 meters in the air. And there was a danger in having people who are, first of all, on fire, and second of all, blinded, because you have to be to protect your eyes. So for all of those very good reasons, we did it outside on an 8-inch high approximation of the platform.
And we created a safe environment where we could use Tamar ignition devices to put these people on fire.
Ready, and 3, 2, 1,
Okay, you just witnessed a major burn on the set, open air this time, which is a lot easier for us. We put charges into the ground to ignite the stuntmen who were drenched in a fire gel. On cue, we sequenced it so it looked like a dragon run, and it took them all up nicely, I thought. It looked very good, very hot. Everything worked amazing. I got my hand shook by the producer, so I'm good. I'm happy. I'm going to go home and go to bed now. See you later.
10, 11, 12,
In 207, we claimed 2 dragons. Hugh claims Vermithor. Ulf claims Silverwing. These 2 claiming moments are very, very different. Hugh takes us on a journey from the top of the gantry down into the bowels of the Dragonmont. And what we wanted to do is we wanted to sort of distinguish Hugh's journey from the mass amount of chaos that happened up on the plinth. We decided to do that by taking away cuts.
I always love the subjectivity of a great, well-staged Steadicam shot that takes a single character through an abyss of action.
We looked at the best of the long takes that happen in action scenes, and what made those scenes great is that there's always something happening in layers.
One of the challenges was that Hugh is running in the scene. So just being able to run with him and still see what's going on, because of the choice of a handheld camera means that also you're going to have a very shaky image. We still wanted to see what's going on.
There were so many moving elements in terms of the size of the dragon and the scale of the dragon that everyone had to hit their marks precisely. We couldn't cheat the framing.
And also coordinating that with all the stunt work, we literally had stunt people falling from the ceiling on fire, which added, as you can imagine, another layer of complexity.
It's a tremendous amount of work and lots and lots of layering and visual effects to get it to come together.
It is very complicated scene because it's all one shot. So in order to achieve it, we had to split it to pieces and do invisible transition.
Hugh runs along, he looks up, the camera looks up to see what he's looking at. Vermithor's blasting someone, we come back, and that's then another take. Comes round to the rock, we look over the rock. As we look at what he's looking at and then come back down, that's another take. So we designed all these stitch points into the shot.
So it is the oneer that you'll see no cuts in that was made out of 7 or 8 pieces that includes dragons, burns, feedings, and eventually a bonding all in one moment, where Vermithor takes a knee to the small man Hugh, who puffs his chest and says, "Come on!"
Vermithor is called the Bronze Fury because he's bronze and he's furious. He's nearly the size of Vhagar, and he is famously one of the most vicious dragons in the kingdom.
My background, I come from visual effects and animation. So anytime I get on a blue screen with actors with fake things, I'm like, oh, this is like home. And I got to basically play dragon riding with Tom and with Ewan in the kind of penultimate sequence, which features Vhagar chasing Silverwing to Dragonstone.
The main challenge for the buckwork this season was we wanted to really add element of handheld to the buckwork so that you feel like you're sitting on a dragon with the writer. So we had to come up with a way of shooting something that feels handheld, but it's actually remotely operated.
I'm working with the Baltics arm that's sort of rigged on top of a container, and then we're working with the buck, and it almost feels like the camera's attached to the dragon itself.
The buck is moving to a set computer program, and the camera is doing that as well, as it has already been designed in the previous.
Putting the pieces together was quite easy. The fun part was actually working with Tom and Ewan to actually see the dragon. We tried to create a sense of a lack of anticipation. So when the dragon turns right, it's like a trust fall. They have to not anticipate anyone being there, and then they have to kind of counter that fall with a drastic movement. So when you see them, what makes it real is this sense of like unpredictability, despite the fact that we're working in a very predicted manner.
You're effectively suspended in the air on this mechanical booking bronco. You've got wind, you've got atmos,
and you're in a back bend, and you're 43, and there's blokes shooting leaf blowers at you.
Fantastic hairdo now.
Thank you so much. Your work will only make this better.
It's because you're worth it.
I am.
You get that beautiful tableau of Rhaenyra and her dragon army, and literally the Dragon Queen coming out of the Dragon Mont. And we see that it worked. Whatever challenges were put to her, and whatever questions she was faced with, she was right in the end and was able to assemble this army of dragons.